you'll see a pretty wide variance in utility rates because everybody's at different stages. Some of them are faced with improvements, others aren't. And so these numbers are constantly changing. But the bottom line is that the rates and charges that we have in place and the ones that are proposed are not out of line compared to other communities of your size. They are within a range that we would expect to see.
So if what you're saying is true, then say KB went out of business, that's one of our biggest water users, always has been. Are we going to have to increase rates 10% on everybody?
Not necessarily 10%, but as you start losing large users, I think you do need to reevaluate the adequacy of the rates and charges. Unlike a lot of other businesses, utilities have a lot of fixed costs. And so, as you start losing volumes, when the facilities are designed to provide service at a given level, and the rates are based upon that, as those usages drop, then that means that fixed cost has to be spread out over fewer users, which means the cost per user actually does go up. So if you do have lose a very large user, then you certainly want to revisit the adequacy of the rates because they may or may not be sufficient at that time.
So why would the rates be affected and not the department? I mean, obviously, if there's less usage and less demand, then can't you make cuts elsewhere other than in your rate hike?
There's a couple things that happen. Some costs actually do go down because many costs are variable. So some things such as power and chemicals, as the amount of water you treat declines, there's going to be reductions in that as well. But let's take other costs that aren't variable, like the debt service on the bonds. That's a fixed cost. So even though you're not selling as many gallons of water or cubic feet of water, the bond payment still has to be made. So that is a fixed cost. Sometimes your labor costs, if it may reduce the amount of flow, but that may or may not mean that you can get by with fewer water operators and employees. It just depends on the circumstances. And I think the evidence here suggests that the utility has been very mindful of their expenses.
And Bill, a good example here, maybe answer the question maybe a little simpler. If 20% of the people, residents of Greensburg, moved out, the street department still has the same amount of streets to maintain. Whether it be snow removal or what have you. So a lot of the cost is still there. There is some ways you can cut some cost, but probably not enough to satisfy the difference.
And also repair our lines and so forth, they're going to wear out. So we have to have money somewhere to repair those.
And something else to explain, Bill, and I've listened to Don Lecker a lot and learned a lot from it. The depreciation. We're supposed to be selling that water for enough money that we can put money to the side. So like Helen just said, as water lines need replaced, we have money to do it with. And recently we haven't been putting that money aside for improvements. That's where we're hurting for the future.
Well, when I was looking at this whole thing, the packet over the weekend, the thing that resonated in my head was residential pretty much stayed the same, and the industrial is the only thing that really gave you a hard hit. So, I mean, that's a tough pill to give all the residents of Greensburg to say, hey, since the industry went down, we're going to charge all you guys extra because, we're going to charge everyone extra only because the industry went down. So, part of me wonders, when I heard you earlier say that you're going to take a 5% hit, here we are in the worst economic times of our lives, and what if we do rebound? In next year, you already said that the council will have a choice.
We can amend it.
I understand that, but what if the economy rebounds in 9 months from now or a year from now? We've already gave that rate increase. I don't know. It would sound better and it would feel better to me if we were in better economic times, but anytime you raise anybody's water and sewer rate, we just did it, 3 years ago, you said? And we were in better economic times at that time. And then you got the thought of, you know, we just upgraded the sewer and water plant because of Honda. Honda is supposedly supposed to buy a certain portion amount that's their maintain, you know, their maintenance, and now we're putting on the other industries. Is Honda a big impact too, as far as is their consumption level?
Actually, Honda's been very helpful because Honda has some guaranteed minimums that are built right here, so that's really helpful.
Has it stayed at a minimum?
Yeah, that's stayed at the minimum. So, I don't know, maybe I don't have any.
Last year, Honda paid, I believe, for water and wastewater, Donna, correct me if I'm wrong, in excess of $200,000 of what they actually used.
The first year.
The
was like
first year.
235,000.
This year, they did not use the minimum, and their amount was in the 80s.
Each utility was about 75,000 each utility.
So about $150,000 for water and wastewater that they paid for
And that-
services they did not receive.
We get it once a year, but it made our year-end average profit and loss look better. But it was like $10,000
So-
profit over the whole year.
I think we all thought when Honda came and we upped our water plant, upped our sewage plant, we were going to get more, you know, we were going to see more traffic in Greensburg, more businesses. Therefore, our water rates, sewer rates are going to be better. You know, we're going to have that consumption.
And hopefully that's what
This will happen, but Bill, this takes time.
Oh, I
It's not going to
understand.
come overnight.
I think the one thing we didn't anticipate was, you know, the Delta situation and then the other industries that have gone down too. Had Honda not been here, we would be in trouble.
Now, and to clarify with Honda, you know, I want to make this clear, because when Honda came to Greensburg, they want to make sure that utility rates are not affected by them coming here. We have how many $1 million, 0% loan from SRF?
It's about 7 million.
Yeah, I was gonna say 6.
25 total, 15 on the water side, 10 on the water.
And that was
There's
at low
22
interest.
man.
That's zero interest. And you
On
have
25.
that 25, and then there was another SRF loan for that in the low market at whatever, 4%, 4.25, or I think 8.7.
That's what Honda's financing, so that we could expand.
No,
Actually, Honda, there's $22 million of bonds, and about half of those have actually been issued, the other half have not. That's being paid from the tax increment, so that's to build water and wastewater capacities, and those aren't reflected in rates and charges at all.
See, that's what I get to. The
Yeah.
TIF is paying those charges from our expansions and improvements. So we're kind of separate, this separate situation from our expansion.
I mean, you made it sound like we didn't stand a whole lot to lose in the first year if we didn't do anything. I mean, you said it was compounded after that. So,
But I think that's the nature of compound. As I said, the utilities have been well managed. I mean, the cash balances are where we want to see them, but we've seen the erosion in cash balances. We're seeing that the revenues aren't keeping pace with the expenses. So the need is actually greater than 5%. What we were suggesting is looking at 5% a year over the next 3 years to build up to where we think that need really is, with the hope that the economy rebounds and the sales increase, and that way you can start deferring or eliminating some of those future scheduled increases. The risk, I think, is this. I think you have enough cash that you would be fine if you didn't do anything today. But what would happen if things don't turn around is that next year, when we're talking about this, instead of a 5% increase, it may be a 10 or 15% increase. So it starts compounding itself if we don't do anything then. So that would be, you know, these are all local decisions. This is just simply our view of it. And, as I said, the utilities have been well managed and just to this point.
so has the availability fees that we see, those have raised also, correct?
Actually, they have not. The availability fee was simply added one for a 10-inch connection. There was one that they asked, but the availability fees are the same as they were in the past. We simply added one additional fee for that 10-inch.
Have we had a limit for the availability fee before?
Yes. 2006, I believe it was. The 10-inch size is in our water rate ordinance, but it was omitted from that